We want to welcome you to the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship first round pregame press conference for Creighton University, which will begin in a few moments. We're coming to you from the Moody Center in Austin, Texas. And for those of you that are joining us in person here in Austin, and for those of you who are on Zoom joining us, a reminder that the format of today's press conference will be to hear from the Creighton student athletes first, and then the players will be dismissed. After a 5-minute break, head coach Jim Flannery will join us. Creighton enters the NCAA tournament as a number 9 seed with a record of 26-6. The Creighton student athletes who will be joining us today are seniors Morgan Molly and Lauren Jensen, both guards. They will be with us in a few moments. A reminder for those who are joining us virtually on Zoom, please check your settings to make sure that you are identified by name and affiliation. We will call on you only if you are properly identified, and if you do wish to ask a question, please use the raised hand function, and I will get to you. We will start with questions from the media assembled here in Austin, and then we will turn to those who are on Zoom if the raised hand function is displaying. Thank you. The Creighton locker room will be open once the players come here until 2:35, and their practice slot will be open to the media from 2:50 to 3:05. Thank you.
Hi, ladies. Hi. Morgan, Lauren, AR. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we welcome everyone back to today's NCAA Women's Basketball National Championship Tournament first round pregame press conference with Creighton University. Joining us right now on the podium are Creighton players Morgan Molly and Lauren Jensen, both senior guards. Ladies, congratulations for making the NCAA tournament again, and we're going to open up for questions from the media here first, and then we'll go to folks that might be waiting to ask you questions on Zoom. Cool. All right, we're going to start with our questions right here. Miles.
Hey, ladies. I'm Miles with Miles and Media. First off, congratulations to the both of you on being named to the first team All-Big East. How has your experience competing in the Big East this season prepared you for the challenges of the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, thank you. The Big East is a good conference. You know, we've seen UConn 3 times. There's some other good teams in the Big East as well. So it definitely prepares us going in. You know, you see a lot of different types of style of play, and so that definitely helps. You know, you never know who you're going to be playing going into it, and so having experience playing against different types of teams and different type of systems really helps, and playing in the Big East helps with that as well.
Yeah, I'll just add, you know, every night's not going to be your night, or just different styles of play that you see. So we've found ways to win in a lot of different ways, and I think that carrying that experience into the tournament is going to be helpful.
Next question from Danny Davis from the Austin American-Statesman. Danny?
Morgan or Lauren, it's been 4 years, but what did that experience in 2022 teach you all about the NCAA tournament and what it takes to win in March?
Yeah, it's unique, but luckily we've had a lot of NCAA tournament games under our belt. You're fighting for your life. Every possession, every mistake is amplified. So you just gotta go out there, trust your game plan, and not let the moment get too big. And I think our team is gonna be good about sticking together and doing what we need to do to win games.
Danny, do you have a follow-up? All right. We're going to now turn to Sam. Sam, identify yourself and your affiliation, please.
Sam Ferris from Fansided. Lauren and Morgan, y'all are averaging over 30 minutes a game alongside Molly. How do you keep the energy up as you go into the postseason?
Taking care of your body is first and foremost, especially as fifth-year seniors. We're in the training room a lot. Thankfully, Flan does a really good job of managing practices around when we're going to play and not going too hard, giving our bodies some rest. But all the things like sleep, rest, recovery, we've been around the block a few times, and so thankfully we have experience there and we know what we're doing, but come game time, we're always ready.
Anything to add for that?
That was great.
All right. I thought so, too. I think so, too. Next question. Jim, do you have a question? Yeah. Jim Vertuno from the Associated Press.
You've got an experienced team. You know what it takes to kind of one game at a time through the tournament. But as veteran players, it's kind of like, is the pressure always also mounting to make history before you leave? And how do you balance that ultimate goal of winning a championship at this point in your career with the idea that, okay, we know we can't look too far ahead, even though the temptation must be there?
Yeah, I think part of that is the challenge of when you find out where you're going, who you're playing, is, looking further down the bracket. Oh, we could play this team. We could play this. It's like, that doesn't matter. And I think we do have a little bit of pressure just because teams know our past and we know our past, and that we've made our mark a little bit in the tournament. But I think we're used to being the underdog. We're used to being overlooked. And we carry that chip on our shoulder in this time of the year.
Yes, we're going to go back to Danny Davis from the Austin American-Statesman now.
Both y'all in Illinois shoot free throws really well. I think you're both top 5. How much is that stressed in practice and by your coaching staff?
Yeah, free throws can make or break a game, and they're good at drawing fouls, and they'll make you pay when they go to the line. And so showing our hands, making sure we're moving our feet, and not picking up little fouls is going to be important because Illinois is a great team. We're expecting a tough game, and that could be the difference.
A reminder for those folks who are joining us on Zoom, if you do have a question for the student athletes, I do see a raised hand, and we'll get to you momentarily. This question will be coming from Matt Demarinis. Matt, if you could just identify your affiliation and ask your question in one moment. Go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, you unmuted me. Matt Demarinis, White and Blue Review. This is for either player, I guess. What's intriguing to you about the Illinois matchup, given that you guys both, have personnel that can stretch the floor at maybe unconventional positions, and it seems like that should be kind of a fun matchup. What's intriguing to you about this first round matchup with them?
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun matchup. They're both great players, like you said, who can stretch the floor. I know I'm looking forward to watching that matchup. And yeah, it should be fun whenever two great players can go at it. It's a fun game, and they're both unique players. Like I said, really good players. And so, yeah, it'll definitely be a fun matchup for sure.
I think pace of play will be interesting. Just like watching film. Illinois just likes to take their time bringing the ball up, and I think we're going to look to run as much as possible, and we can only do that if we get stops defensively. So that will be a key for us.
Matt, do you have a follow-up question?
Not related to that, but I'm just curious about, Flan and you guys have talked a little bit about just nerves being natural at this time of year. And I'm curious if there's anything you've picked up on, because this is your fourth tournament in a row, about, how to mitigate those, even though you can't, stop them from happening, I guess, once you feel the environment, once you're on the stage.
With nerves, I think a really big thing for us and for me personally is just leaning into the team and what we've done all season. We know what we're capable of and what kind of team we are. We've been consistent all year, and just leaning on that work that we've done in games and in practices and individually is a really good way to mitigate those nerves.
I think jumping into the game, it will be important just playing how we want to right out of the gate, because we haven't played in close to 2 weeks. So I feel like that's kind of a different approach with the women's tournament compared to the men's. I feel like we have a lot of time off, and so just being in that environment plus the NCAA tournament is going to be is what's unique about our position in this game.
Jim Verterno, Associated Press. Jim?
I'll follow up on that. Is that break good or bad? The break in playing, is that good or bad?
I always think it's pretty good. I think especially our team, Flan, lets us reset and take some time away. It was spring break for us last week, so a lot of people got to go home or do whatever they needed to do. And yeah, so the first 5 minutes might be a little rough, but that's, I think, maybe to be expected. But the game's not won in 5 minutes, so gotta play a full 40.
Anything to add to that?
No, that was great.
It was. I agree. Do we have any other questions for our two senior guards up here? Yeah, Jim, go ahead. We'll go back to Jim Vertuno.
Sorry, since you opened it up, I'll follow it. Spring break. What did you do? Did anybody go have fun, get sunburned? Was there like a warning? Hey, don't mess this up. We got to play in a tournament. What'd you do?
Yeah.
I'll go. I actually, thankfully, was able to go to Florida for 3 days, which is really rare for this time of year. It was kind of weird being there, but I was obviously still working out and stuff. Morgan said it, but having that mental break and that physical break is honestly something that I'm really grateful for over these past 4 years. It's a long season, and having that break to kind of reset and be able to get back in the zone. I was never really fully in vacation mode because we're in the middle of postseason, but it was nice to let my body have a break and be able to spend time with family.
Yeah, I spent my spring break just back in my hometown. Spent some time with my dogs, my family. Worked out, of course, but I just kind of laid around. So.
Well, we'll try to make sure Coach didn't hear that last remark. But ladies, actually, thank you so much. I'm glad you've all reset and you're ready to go tomorrow night in your first NCAA tournament game. Congratulations again for your achievements to date, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, just a reminder for everyone that we will be joined by Coach Flannery in a few moments. We will be taking a break. He will be coming to the podium at 2:25, and we'll speak till 2:40. And then for those of you, again, who are joining us on Zoom, thank you very much for your questions. And again, if you do want to ask Coach any questions during his time here on the podium, just use the raised hand function, and I will call on you. Thank you. We'll take a few-minute break, and we'll be back soon. We want to welcome everyone back to the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship first round pregame press conferences from Austin, Texas today. Momentarily, we will be joined by Creighton head coach Jim Flannery as the Creighton Blue Jays prepare to face Illinois in tomorrow's first round game. Again, we will be joined momentarily by head coach Jim Flannery. And for those of you who are here in Austin, we will go to you for questions first. And for those of you who are joining us by Zoom, thank you for that. If you do wish to ask a question, please use the raised hand function, and I will be turning to you momentarily. Come on up, Coach. Yes. Barb Covell, congratulations, Coach.
Jim,
Yeah, have
nice
a
to see
seat
you.
right there.
Thank you.
Do you need water or anything?
I'm
You all
good.
set?
Thank you.
All right. All right, folks, you can see that we've been joined by Creighton head coach Jim Flannery. Coach, congratulations on your successes to date. And we would love to begin this press conference with an opening statement from you, and then we'll go to questions.
Sure. Well, it's smart of you guys to have me go after the players because I talk a lot, so you wouldn't have had time with the players if you'd had me go first. So thanks for that. Great opportunity, great experience to be in the NCAA tournament. I'm sure our players reference, you just don't take it for granted. And we have a special group that's been together. Really fun to coach, really enjoyable to be around. So tried to soak that in. Now it's time to enjoy all the work that you've put in. So Illinois' got a really good basketball team, really impressed with them on film. They balance, do a lot of things well at both ends and represent a big challenge for us. But, we've had all week to prepare. It's a little different. You go through the season and you have a lot of two-day preps by the time you get to second semester, and now you got a little bit more time. So both teams should be prepared. And, I think it's a real even game if you look at it by a lot of the metrics, which I'm kind of a numbers nerd, so I do. But anyway, excited for the opportunity.
Thanks, Coach. We're now going to turn to some questions. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. This is Miles from Miles and Media. This year marks Creighton's 11th overall appearance in the NCAA tournament and the 4th consecutive. What does that consistency say about your program and the strengths of your program?
Well, our program has been built on retention, I think. If you look at what we've been able to do over the last 15 to 18 years, especially, and it's gotten harder to retain players. It'll only get more difficult. But I do think that we have really kind of embraced that needs to be our MO. And we went from 2008 to 2022, where we didn't have a transfer, 2021. So that'll continue to kind of be hopefully the case. But again, we also know we're probably going to have to be in the portal a little bit more than we would like. But I do think the consistency, the fact that our group has stayed together for as long as it has been kind of an anomaly in the basketball scene today. So, and I think hopefully that other young women can see that and see the value in that, because I think we talk about all the things that athletes can get nowadays, but we don't always do a great job in the narrative of what the actual experience is going to be like, and the internal things that I think our players would say that they value, I think sometimes is lost on some people, and I think that's unfortunate. But that's an old guy talking. I hope that our players' message of staying together and having the experience that they have can resonate with some other people, because I do think that they wouldn't trade their experience for anything.
Our next question is going to come from Sam Ferris of Fansided. Sam?
Hey, Coach. Your men's team's doing pretty well this postseason so far. They just got the win to start their tournament run. Do y'all use that as fuel for y'all going into the postseason in the big dance?
Well, if we can shoot it like they did in that stretch the last 10 minutes of the first half, geez, we have some similarities. We shoot a lot of threes just like they do. We don't have the rim protection that they do with Kalkbrenner, but I do think there's an ability to kind of look at what they did, and I thought they played with great confidence and poise and from the beginning, and I think that's what you hope for from your group, or from our group. But I also know that you have to have resiliency to win in the NCAA tournament, because it's not going to be a smooth 40 minutes in that first game. You're going to have players with nerves, and you've got to have other players whose nerves kind of settle in those players who have more nerves. And so I think that's a key, and that's where I like the fact that we have such great experience, because not everybody's going to get off to a great start. Not everybody's going to make their first 3 shots, and so to have experience, I think, matters, and I thought you saw that to a large degree with our men yesterday.
Our next question is coming from Danny Davis of the Austin American-Statesman. Danny?
Hey, Jim. I kind of want to go back to something you were just talking about. When you think about the team culture you've built and keeping these players around, obviously you've been around for a while. You have a bunch of former players on your staff now. How, I don't know if difficult's the right word, but what were the challenges of building that culture in 2025?
You mean in the most recent, or just kind of having overall? Yeah. Well, I think you referenced my staff, and I want to give them a lot of credit, because I do think that when there's different philosophies, but I've kind of hired from within. I've hired from people who have an affection toward Creighton that maybe somebody else wouldn't have, and that's not all my staff aren't Creighton people, but I think that when you have that baked in, there's just a little bit more investment maybe in terms of staying, and I also think that your players can see the Creighton in them, in the staff, and I feel like that's a big piece of it, because I also believe wholeheartedly my staff does a great job in development, and I think when players want to be developed, and they can't be developed unless they're retained, but part of retention is players seeing themselves develop. So as I see myself getting better as a player within the context of this team, then I'm like, okay, I can project that I'm going to play in a year. I'm going to play more in a year. I'm going to play more in 2 years. And I think that's a big piece of it, is that and I'm not including myself, because I'm not on the court with them in the one-on-one and the shoot. If you saw me shoot, you'd know why. But I think they do a great job in development. My staff does a great job in development. And players see themselves get better, and when they see themselves get better, they're like, okay, where else am I going to go where I can see the progress that I'm making? And maybe they think they can do that, but this group hasn't seen that. And the other thing is they do a great job of listening to our players, because as you referenced, I've been around a long time. I'm a long way from their age. My assistant coaches are not nearly as far away from their age. So when they need something, when they need somebody to cry to or vent to or whatever, they don't come to me, and that's kind of by design. But so I have a much younger staff who I think does a great job of, hey, every freshman's going to struggle. I mean, there's not a freshman that I've ever coached isn't going to think about leaving or think about, why am I here? And I just think my staff does a great job of identifying that those tough times are gonna pass. There are better outcomes on the other side, and I think that's a huge piece of it. Is when I've said this, and when you have players in your locker room who were in that same locker room 3 years ago as freshmen, it resonates differently with the freshmen that you then have in that locker room. Whereas if the juniors and seniors in your locker room came from somewhere else and they weren't in the same locker room as freshmen, that just plays differently, and I think that's a big piece of it too.
Next question, Jim Vertuno, Associated Press.
A couple of your players talked about how they liked having the chance to get away with spring break. As a coach, does that make you a little nervous that they're like out from under you for a few days? Do you send them off with a blessing to go have as much fun or relaxation? How do you handle that?
With this team, I'm perfectly comfortable with them having the opportunity to get away. I trust them a lot. I think we as a staff talk about how nerdy they are and how we need them to occasionally think about being more social. That they're, when I'll give you an example. So we have a player on our team, a freshman who's an LDS. Is of the LDS faith. So the only service she could go to in Omaha was at 11 a.m. on Sundays. So we've got, within our team, you've got a lot of other, options if you're of a different faith. So, but hers is at 11 to 1. So I said, okay, what are we going to do on Sundays? Are we going to, I'm assuming you guys would rather go in the afternoon, thinking Saturday night. This is in September and October before we start playing games. Well, they chose to practice, Sunday morning, and I think that gives you an indication of how nerdy they are. That they would rather practice at 8:30 on Sunday morning than on Sunday afternoon. So I think that's why I just have a lot of trust in them. I mean, when we'll go through stuff today in regard to Illinois, we'll say, okay, we've talked about how we want to defend this. Are you guys comfortable with this, or do you want to change how we're going to defend this? And I think you do that with an older team.
Thanks for the questions coming from the media here in Austin. We're now going to turn to Zoom and take a question or two from Matt Demarinis. Matt, if you could just identify your affiliation and ask your questions, please.
Yeah, Matty Arenas, White and Blue Review. Flan, I'm curious, Lauren and Morgan in particular seem quite loose and just kind of comfortable in this setting. And I'm curious if that's a byproduct of the fact that they've been here for 4 years and done it before, or if it's intentional on the team's part to kind of just, really enjoy what is their last run and be as loose as possible going into it.
Yeah, I think it's mostly a function of the experience that they have and having done this before, and I don't think it's that we've hammered to them, hey, you've got to relax and because I'm not sure that's the best piece of advice you can give them, because that only probably is going to make them think that they need to be conscious of their need to relax. So I think it's a product of their experience and belief in each other, in themselves, and in just embracing the moment, which is what we've kind of tried to get them to do, and I try to get myself to do too. It's not like I'm that great at it either, but I think it's more the experience piece.
Matt, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Just in terms of Illinois, what's intriguing to you about, the similarities between the two of you, the some of the things that are stylistically similar, and especially when it comes to personnel and what they can do, what they're dangerous at, and what's intriguing to you about the some of the things that are different about the two teams and the ways you can kind of expose each other in those areas.
Sure. Well, they've got. I think they have really good balance offensively. I mean, they certainly have their three premier scorers, but even their other kids can get hot and are dangerous. They're a low turnover team, which we are. They shoot the three well. They don't shoot it in the volume that we do, but they shoot it well. They got a little bit more of an inside presence, obviously, with Bostic. I mean, we have post players, but mostly they're perimeter post players. I think they're connected defensively. They do things different than we do, but I think you see their experience defensively. They're physical defensively, more physical than we are. They do a much better job of getting to the free throw line than we do. That's going to be a key is to be good about not fouling and keeping them off the free throw line. But I think, like I said, we're certainly a little more perimeter oriented at the offensive end, and maybe a little bit more willing to be outside the box on the defensive end. Just, yeah, I think we're pretty similar. I was looking, I think they average 71, give up 62, and we average 72 and give up 63-ish. So pace is pretty similar. They play reasonably slow, as do we, in terms of pace of play. So I think it's going to be a really close, competitive game.
Matt, anything else from you for Coach Flannery?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Flan.
All right.
You don't want to know about the weather, Matt? Can you go finish my driveway?
I'm hoping to find out on Monday about the weather in Austin.
Well, there we go for a nod to the awesome Austin weather right there, Coach.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, that's how we welcome people here in the Lone Star State. Any other questions from anyone from the media here assembled in Austin? Seeing none, Coach, thank you so much today for your time, and best of luck tomorrow night against Illinois.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here.